thanks for stopping by. Today I'm going to show you how I resurfaced my fireplace. So to begin, this is what my fireplace looks like beforehand. It is pretty dated and pretty crappy looking. It's stained, it's old. The glass doors are intact, but they're not necessarily too pretty. The handles are wooden. There are a few like rust spots in the vent areas, and I'm going to go over those vent areas with Rust-Olium, which is an enamel that will coat and resurface those areas in the surround. The part around the actual opening of the fireplace, it is a working fireplace. It's wood burning, although I've never used it and I never plan to use it. But all the materials that I'm going to use are safe to use for a fireplace. The tile that I'll be using for the bottom, it's vinyl, and I got these at Lowe's. It is peel and stick. It's super easy to cut. And then for the side part of the wall, I'm going to use these peel and stick tiles. They're stone and they have a really strong sticky adhesive on the back, and I got those from Home Depot. They were, I believe, $15 each slab, and I got 4 of them. I ended up taking one back because I didn't need it. And my camera did die when I was recording some of this, so I don't get to record the part where I go up the side of the wall. However, here's the Rust-Oleum. This is Rust-Oleum, sorry. This is for high heat. You can use it on grills, ovens, stoves, fireplaces, etc. So here, I just inserted this video of what the tile on the bottom looks like on the back side, the adhesive. It's not wet, it's just a peel and stick. It's sticky to touch, but it doesn't leave any residue. And then this is also by Rust-Oleum. This is called Imagine Metallic Gold Spray Paint, and it has a really nice finish, and that's what I used for the doors. So here I am just covering up the glass loosely at this point with newspaper. You can use any sort of paper, it doesn't really matter what you choose to cover the glass with. I chose to use newspaper just because it's convenient. I just honestly laid a thin piece or sheet of newspaper over the glass doors so that I didn't get any of the enamel spray onto the glass. So I'm going to start with the Rust-Oleum after I cover up the windows. That was my kid poking his head in the camera. So I begin spraying the Rust-Oleum enamel first. I also, if you notice toward the bottom of the screen, I put a sheet there to cover my couch because you do want to have your area well ventilated when you do this. I opened all the windows. I have a ceiling fan, so the ceiling fan was on, the door was open, and I just didn't want us to inhale all of the fumes. So make sure you are doing this in a ventilated area. And because everything was blowing around, I didn't want the back spray to get on my sofa, so I covered it. I also sprayed the gate on the opening of the door. So on this part, I opened the doors again to flatten them out and to tape them more closely to cover the glass, because now I'm going to spray paint the gold perimeter of each of the doors. So you want to make sure when you cover this area, you do it precisely as close to the area that you're going to spray paint as possible. So as you can see, that there's almost nothing left visible except for the parts that are outlining the glass doors. So whenever I spray paint anything, I use spray paint a lot when I'm doing art projects. So whenever I'm trying to be precise with the spray paint and I don't have a nozzle or a funnel or anything that's going to direct the paint in a very particular way, I'll cover all the other areas that I'm working around, and it usually just works pretty fine. The tape is regular masking tape. It doesn't have to be anything particularly fancy. So I begin to spray here, and I just go around each one of the glass door openings to make sure I have an even coat. It dries really, 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 really quickly. I also sprayed the handles of the glass door, although they're wooden. They were just plain, they were just wooden, and they didn't really go with anything, so I sprayed them gold. As you can see also on the left side, I got a little messy, and I also sprayed that area because I was thinking that it was a part of the door, but it's actually a part of the surround. So I'm going to go back over that in just a minute with the Rust-Olium to cover it black with enamel again. And I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to spray any enamel on the glass. Also, if you've noticed, I'm wearing a glove, and I'm only wearing it on one hand just because I didn't necessarily feel it was really something I needed to do for both hands. But I'm definitely glad I wore it on one hand because I needed to hold down the paper as I went through this project, and I was going to get paint everywhere, all over my hands. I also noticed some of the parts at the top where the vent is that I didn't tape down more tightly or more closely. I got a little bit of gold on the vent, and so I just went back over those spots with the Rust-Olium again. And although the Rust-Olium isn't paint, it does cover thoroughly. So it did cover up all of the rust spots. It really did give it a nice finish. It doesn't look brand new, but it definitely doesn't look as old and dated as it used to be. And it has a really nice matte surface. I thought it looked really, really pretty against the gold. So now I'm just wiping off the bottom tile so that I can prep it to begin to lay the new tile. All I used was alcohol. I just so happen to have 91% rubbing alcohol just because I'm a little obsessive with germs. So I just so happen to have that one. I don't really think it matters as long as your surface is clean before you stick any tile down. Before I started to stick anything anywhere, I had to make sure that I liked the layout and the sizing. Obviously, you can see that the sheets of individual tiles are much wider than the surface that I am working with, so I would have to cut them. I used the box cutter to cut these tiles. I've seen people do this with scissors. My scissors really didn't work well. It kind of gave more of a jagged line that I didn't like. It's more difficult to cut with the box cutter, but I think it gave it far more clean lines, and I liked the way that that ended up turning out. So I flipped them over just so I wasn't cutting the first line directly on the surface that I wanted to show. I didn't want to pull the vinyl too tightly or rip it. So I turned it over on the back to make it a little bit easier to slide my box cutter down the line. I also measured against the tile that was laying in front of me just to see if I could fill that one space and what size that would be. I ended up using this metal ruler, a yardstick really, to make sure my line was straight and to give me something to rest the box cutter against, because it was a pretty awkward position and you have to put some effort into it. It doesn't slice like a slice of bread, you know, you gotta put a little muscle into it. So I was trying to balance that. But once the back is scored, or once either side of the tile is scored, you can just bend it and kind of like you would with notebook paper. How it's perforated, it kind of makes a perforated line, so you can bend it and then you can continuously cut to snap it off. If your box cutter is sharp enough, you can probably just do it in one swipe. Mine was a little bit dull, so it took me a couple of tries to get it to apply enough pressure for the cut to go all the way through to the other side. So once I did get it scored, you can see I just bent it a little bit like that, and then I just took my knife and finished it off. Well, I didn't kill it, but I really wanted to make sure I liked the layout before I started to stick these tiles down. Although they're not permanent and I can easily peel them off, I didn't want to have to be bothered with moving them around or changing my mind after they were already stuck. The backing isn't extremely sticky, but it does leave a little bit of an annoying residue, and it was just going to get messy. So I continued to measure my spacing and continued to play around with the layout. Unfortunately, I didn't get to record, well, I thought I was recording, but my battery died. The part where I stick the stone tiles along the sides, but they were extremely easy as well. They literally are exactly the same on the back, and they just peel off. Once I was finished with all of the tile, I used Alex Fast Dry caulking in the squeeze tube that doesn't require a caulking gun. It's a lot easier to manage, in my opinion, especially if you have a little especially if you have a little project and not a large one. So this worked just fine. You just need to squeeze out a little thin line, less than what you would probably put on a toothbrush. And then once you squeeze the line along the seams or the cracks that you want to fill in, then you work with a little tool to press it in, and you'll see that in a second. I also went along the bottom of the tile, the stone tile, to fill in any creases or openings that I noticed. And so then I took this little, I don't even know what this is called. It was in the section where the caulking is in Home Depot. And it's for this reason, to smooth out and finish your lines. It also helps to press the caulking in between those seams. So it has a really, really nice finish when it's all done. And here is the final product. I really, really, really love the way that this turned out. It was cheap, it was fun, it was efficient, it looks beautiful, and I hope you like it too. Let me know if you've ever tried to resurface anything. I want to do the counters, I want to do the walls, I want to do the floor, I want to do the whole entire condo, but I don't own this condo, I'm renting this condo, so I will continue to do renter-friendly projects. Hope you like it. Like, comment, and subscribe. Bye-bye.